Good evening and welcome back to my channel. This evening we are going to make chicken and mushroom pie. About a week and a half ago I posted a pic of a chicken and mushroom pie I had made for supper on Facebook, and I had a few requests for a recipe, so that's what I'm doing tonight. So let's get going straight away. So I'm going to start by putting on my pot. There's about 2 tablespoons of oil in the pot, and to that I'm going to add 1 large chopped onion. Now if you have a look on my counter, you'll see I've prepared quite a few things. I have some garlic and ginger over here. There's a tomato that I have not prepared. I'm going to cut it up soon. I've cleaned mushrooms. This is 250 grams of mushrooms. To clean mushrooms, please don't throw it in water. It makes it very, very slimy. You just take a wet cloth and you wipe it. I've pre-soaked 1 cup of sago in 2 cups of water, cold water, and this is an entire chicken that I boiled in salted water and took everything off the bone, slivered it. If you do not like to boil chicken because the smell can be slightly unpleasant, you can just buy one of those grilled chickens from ShopRite or Pick n Pay or Woolies, and you can just take the flesh off by hand and you sliver it. So I'm going to start by chopping the mushrooms. While I'm chopping this tomato, I just want to say that you don't have to use fresh mushrooms. You can use a can of mushrooms, either whole mushrooms or pieces. It makes your life a bit easier because cleaning and chopping mushrooms can be a bit time consuming. So the onions have browned a bit and I'm going to add the tomato. I'm also going to add the garlic and ginger. It's about 3 cloves of garlic and as much ginger as there's garlic. And next I'll add the slivered chicken and the mushrooms. Now the sago goes in next. I would suggest that you throw some of your seasoning in the sago because the pot gives off quite a bit of steam, and the aromat, the salt and the pepper, the steam makes the holes clog. So again, I'm not going to tell you how much aromat, salt and pepper to throw in. I usually add some stock to this, either chicken or beef, but I don't have any. So today I'm doing it with only seasoning. Once your sago is gone in, you want to have some water nearby because you'll see the pot is very dry, and without water, this pie is not going to cook. So the only thing that really needs to cook is the sago. Once the sago has softened and is see-through, then the pie filling is done. You need to add water, but be careful not to add too much water because the sago thickens the sauce. So that looks about right. I might need to add a little bit more water in a while, but I'm going to cover it, turn down the heat and leave it alone for about 10 minutes, and then I will come back and see what it's done. While the filling is boiling, I'm going to prepare the pastry. So I'm going to start by spraying my enamel bowl. And I'm going to say again, if you want nice pastry, nice puff pastry, buy yourself some enamel. I've again put the link up at the bottom of the video, and I'll just set it aside. Now I use store-bought pastry. I have made puff pastry, but it takes so long and I feel it's not worth the effort. So I use any store-bought pastry. The Woolies one is quite good. I like today. This is one I've not tried before. It's called gourmet pastry. And I'm going to start by just unrolling the pastry and placing it on my floured surface. And I'm going to turn it over so I can make sure there's flour on both sides. And I'm going to bring the bowl I want to put the pie in. So you can see the pastry is quite a bit smaller, so I have to roll quite a bit. The size of your bowl depends on the size of the chicken. Now this was not a particularly big chicken, so this bowl is actually a bit bigger than most people would make, but I like my pastry to filling ratio to be a bit more pastry than others do, so it's perfect for me. Don't leave the pot alone for too long. The sago has a tendency to burn. When you are rolling your pastry out, try to just roll it gently. You don't want to bruise it too much. You just want to gently roll it out to just the required size. So if you think it might be there, bring your bowl closer. Slightly bigger. So I'm going to put my pastry into the pie bowl, and I'm going to cut off all the extra bits. So my pastry won't stick to the bowl on that side, so I'm just going to wet it slightly, just with my finger, and just lift it up. And I'm going to use the offcuts to line the pan completely. Lining the bottom of the pan doesn't have to be tidy at all, because all these little pieces just blend together while the pie is cooking. If you look in here, you'll see that most of the sago has cooked away and it's created quite a thick sauce. Now, when it gets to that point, your pie is finished. So I'm going to turn off the heat and I'm just going to add some parsley. I really like the taste of fresh herbs. Well, this parsley is frozen, but if you add the parsley, once the filling is cooked, the presence of the parsley in the pie is noticed quite a bit more. So I'm going to leave the filling to cool slightly while I start working on the top of the pastry. Some people make pie with one roll of pastry, but as I mentioned before, I really like the pastry, so I use two. I think that using two is better, because if you're going to use such a thin layer of pastry, why don't you just make a stew? So I'm keeping my pan that I'm baking it in nearby, because I want to make sure that I get the size as close to the size of the pan as possible, so that my top layer of pastry can be quite substantial. And I'm going to roll it alongside my pie dish. Now, I'm intentionally rolling it bigger because I want a few pieces of offcuts just so I can make a nice, rich pastry ridge. Okay, so let's get this pie done. I'm gonna pour the filling into the shell at the bottom. Now, if you're not baking it in enamel, if you're baking it in glass or in stainless steel, then you have to wait till the pastry gets cold, or your pastry at the bottom will be soggy. But if you are using enamel, you can throw the hot filling in immediately. Next, I'll just put this pastry on top. And I'm making sure that this top layer touches the bottom one so that I can seal the pie on the sides. Now I'm going to cut off all these extra pieces of pastry and I'm going to keep them. And I'm going to dip a fork into some water and I'm just going to turn the pastry over and seal it. If it starts sticking, just dip it in some more water. And once you've done that, you're going to take the pastry that's left over and you're going to make strips out of it and you're going to add that to this ridge. And that will create a lovely, rich layer of crust around the top of your pie. Then we're going to prick the pie and I'm going to egg wash it. So I'm going to beat this egg and I'm just going to egg wash the entire top of the pie. If you are using a glass bowl, it's a good idea not to egg wash it, because with a glass bowl, the bottom of the pie can tend to be soggy. Now, if you don't egg wash it and you wait for it to go brown, there is a chance that the bottom of your pie won't be soggy if you are using a glass bowl. But if you are using enamel, then there's no risk of sogginess at all. Now, when you are egg washing, don't forget to egg wash this extra layer of pastry. And I'm going to pop this pie into the oven until it's brown. I don't know how long that takes. I'm guessing 25 to 30 minutes. If you're using glass, you're looking at a good 40 to 50 minutes to get the bottom nicely cooked. But I'm guessing it's 25, maybe 30 minutes, so I'll let you know as soon as it comes out. So the pie's been in the oven for 25 minutes. Let's take it out. Maybe I should first have egg washed it and then poke the holes in. I'm going to add that advice. First egg wash it, then poke the holes in, because it looks like the egg wash just closed the holes and some of the air stayed inside anyway. But that's the pie. I'm not going to cut it straight away. I'll cut it in a few minutes time, maybe 15 or 20 minutes. If I cut it now, it's going to fall apart. So it needs to cool down slightly so that the sauce inside can just stiffen a little bit. So I'm going to be honest, it's not been 20 minutes. It's been maybe 5 or 6, but I'm going to risk it because it smells so good and I'm so hungry. So if I had waited a few more minutes, it would have stayed in there, but it's worth it. I'm going to have supper now. If you enjoyed the recipe, please like it. And if you like my other recipes, please subscribe to my channel. If you subscribe to my channel, please remember to hit the notifications button so you can be notified whenever there's something new. Have a good evening.